people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Aaron Hammonds for a game of Lighthearted, a magical 80s RPG. Players take on the role of a prep, jock, geek, rebel, outcast, just like those kids in the Breakfast Club, except you're about to start magical community college. Through play, we explore how you grow out of your high school cliques while dealing with magical mishaps, college parties, vampires, and worse, finals. This game is really special. It's got a premise that instantly hooked me and is just really joyful, and the way that it uses the shorthand of film and television tropes of the 1980s to really key you into this style of story and then adds this whole magical layer on top of it is really wonderful. And it's got this really interesting emotion-based dice mechanic that creates these sorts of big emotional swing scenes that just feel so perfect for the time period, for the media that it's drawing on. This game is fantastic. I loved playing it. I really think you're going to love listening to it. You can find more about Lighthearted at lighthearted.games, or you could check the show notes for more information. Aaron, is one of the members of Queen's Court Games, a multi-award-winning actual play content team telling stories about broken heroes trying to save themselves and occasionally the world. He is the GM for the massively award-winning Vampire the Masquerade actual play series, The All Night Society, which is an unbelievably powerful and dazzling show. It is one of the most dominant shows on the Audio Fiction World Cup, currently ranked number 3 in the world, and it is truly every bit as good as its reputation implies. It is an amazing show. You should absolutely go check it out. You can find more information about Queen's Court Games and the All Night Society at queenscourt.games, or you can check the show notes for more information. Now, a few quick disclaimers before we dive in. This episode does deal very heavily in themes of loss and grief. It is an emotionally heavy episode, so listener discretion is advised. And also an equal parts disclaimer and shout out the structure of this episode. A lot of the content of this episode is inspired by the lighthearted adventure One Last Good Day by Kurt Potts. I will link that adventure in the show notes. It is an incredible thing. I recommend you go check it out and read it. Disclaimer that it does deal in very similar themes of grief as well as very specifically themes of self-harm and suicide. So reader discretion advised, but it is truly one of those stories, adventures that you read and it just stays with you in a really powerful and impactful way. It is one of the most powerful and moving role-playing game supplement adventures that I've ever read in my life. So like I said, I'm including a link to that in show notes. Go check it out, read it. It is one of those adventures that will stay with you forever. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am so very excited. I'm sitting down with Aaron Hammonds. Aaron, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Oh, literally the biggest possible pleasure it could be for me. So happy to be here.
I am absolutely thrilled. The feeling is mutual. I've been looking forward to this for a good little while now. I'm really excited to play a game with you today. I'm excited to play the specific theme that we are going to be sitting down and playing. And at the top of our episode, before we get into that, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Hi, yes. Well, most of the things that I'm doing, you can find over at Queen's Court Games. Queen's Court Games is our character-first, narrative-driven, low rules, low banter storytelling actual play collective. So that's where I am all about these days, playing mostly horror games. So it'll be nice to do something that's a little light-hearted as opposed to our normal fare. But if you're into Cult Divinity Lost, if you're into Call of Cthulhu, if you're into Delta Green, that is my jam. And you can find me doing that pretty much every week for the next years.
Hey, Aaron, I really like the things that you make. For the just sometimes I get to say this to people on mic. Hey, you make some great fucking actual plays.
This is going to be the most circular thing. I don't know if your audience knows that we're both NJ Webfest people, and pretty much every conversation that Jeff and I have in person is no, you're the greatest.
No, you're great. No, you are. It truly is. This is why I'm cutting this off here. But other than to say, I really like the stuff that you make. It is fantastic, and listeners, you should go check it out. It's very, very good. So with that said. You mentioned it a little bit, but we are playing Lighthearted today. Lighthearted is a game of magic in an imagined cinematic 1980s. It is the past. It is the cinematic past, the John Hughes "Don't You Forget About Me" past. There is magic very literally in the air as you are both in our case, a young adult, but also a wizard, and that is a very important piece of the puzzle. and we are going to tell like a story about like how that magic informs the experiences that you have. Now, Aaron, you pitched this game to me. Talk to me about what has you excited about playing this game in particular.
So in addition to just the change of pace for me, I have found it challenging as a GM and often as a player to really deal with the emotional side of things. I think when we're doing RPGs in general, like there's a wish fulfillment, so you want to be happy and you want to be excited. And I don't know many games that not only reward you, but kind of force you to think about how you are feeling as things go through. So that by itself is the core driving mechanic. Kurt and Kate Potts, who put this game together, it's just my favorite thing in the world to explore. But I think that also makes it appropriate for maybe touching upon darker themes without going to an explicit horror place. That you can address sadness and rage and fear, but not having to be chased by tentacle monsters to do it. So there's something really human about it that I like a lot.
I so agree, and I think it's something really special about like it does a really interesting thing, and I think that it does a thing that like really brings that out, and I'm excited to play around with it by setting it in this sort of imagined past, right? By setting it in this very pop culture infused past, like it's a very clever use of media as a touchstone because it brings out that emotional experience and those associations that you kind of form with this, like, or that are so present within the media of this period that like you kind of can't help but like really latch on to those very like big 80s movie feelings of that like period in Hollywood history that I have perhaps at times an overly deep affection for.
I mean, I'm shocked that no one has tried to do Breakfast Club, but in a wizard school.
It's such a like that's one of those things that just feels so. It's so right. I mean, I'm certain that it's like knowing the actual play podcast landscape. I'm certain that it's out there. I'm certain that someone has done it. I if you have done it, please. This is my one invoke of the most sacred request that I can make. Listeners, please at me. I only invoked this once, and now this is my time using the card.
I mean, actual play, but also like Hulu and stuff, right? I think there's so much. There's not magical 80s media out there, and I think there should be.
That's the thing is like it, and you're like it. That's one of the things about Lighthearted that really jumped out to me was that like it really hits this particular. It's this one element that feels so. You're right. It feels so natural, yet like it just feels like it's just outside of the sort of media purview, especially like you were saying, like when you don't factor in that sort of horror, it feels like everything magical in the 80s is colored very specifically by that horror lens, whether that, you know, Stranger Things and the Stephen King's It tradition, that it feels like that sense of like this is something more whimsical is I guess the word I would use, like feels just slightly out of that reach.
You can be really, really serious, but also wholesome and lighthearted in a way that other RPGs kind of don't let you do.
And that's, I think, what I'm really, really excited about. With that, talk to me about like you've made up a wizard. Talk to me about your wizard character today.
Yeah. So as is tradition for me personally, every character that I play has to have two first names. So this is Michael Cooper. And Michael Cooper is a one-term enlistee veteran who in the 80s, I guess, would have been doing some Cold War kind of waiting for the big thing to happen. But a very turned 18 in the Midwest where there wasn't much for way of opportunities, swept up in that wanderlust. I think the establishing shot would be like him sitting on the front porch of a farmhouse, just looking at nothing but fields and wondering if there's a better world out there. So he enlists with a friend of his, who I guess we'll get to later, and they go out and they kind of see the world, and it's not everything that they thought it out to be. In terms of attributes, in every lighthearted character has to pick a clique. Michael Cooper is a geek. He was an intel dweeb in the military. We'll say he joined the Air Force, so the nerdiest job in the nerdiest branch of the military. You are also attuned to one of four of the great celestial powers in the world, he has been chosen by the Celestial. It is about observation and prophecy, seeing not only the future, but all the different things that are happening right in front of you. So both like macro and micro scale vision. You arrange your stats onto 6 different attributes. Each one is given a dice pool, D4 through D bigger, D4 the smallest, and then up from there. So his bod stat is a D4. That's the lowest. He is not in great shape. Hasn't really been keeping up on his physical training. Motor, though, D6. So I'm a little spry, a little flexible, a little fast, but still not going to set any land speed records. The mental stat is a D10. Normally they only go up to D8, but there's another thing we've taken later in the character sheet that bumps it up one size. So he's a big old brainy geek, and I feel like if you're going to play in the 80s, you got to lean all the way into your trope, right?
Mm-hmm.
A D4 in psych and a D4 in glam. Not super good at the mental stability thing. Not a big personality. But then lastly, a D6 in sway. So he can be a little persuasive when he needs to be.
Love it. So, you mentioned a friend. Let's talk about your friend, Reggie McConklin. Reggie was in life your, was your knucklehead friend. He was very much your, what was the thing that Reggie did that irritated everyone except for you?
Have you ever seen like a puppy that is dog-sized but still puppy brain, and then as a result has like no concept of the size of their body or how hard they collide with things?
You're describing my cat right now, which is about 14 pounds and acts not like a kitten at all, but like the most excited puppy in the world, and sometimes will just run at you full speed and sort of like battering ram you. And that she just truly, it's one of her favorite things is that she's like, I'm running to give you headbutts now because I love you. And you're like, or she's like, I am jumping on you at this exact moment. And I'm like, you are the largest cat in the world. Please do not do this.
Yeah, so that's Reggie, right? Like high fives too hard, hugs too tight, always big. Whatever you think large is in terms of emotions or action, Reggie's was always bigger. And most people kind of like, they could find that abrasive. No one wants a high five that stings your hand like that hard.
Yeah, right.
But I found it really endearing because there was like a vivaciousness in it that I just always imagined it was that Reggie couldn't contain the exuberance inside of himself, and it had to come out physically, or it had to come out at 30 decibels instead of normal talking volume.
That's truly, truly wonderful. The two of you enlisted at the same time. Reggie ended up in also the Air Force, but like in a more logistical role. Like he was a transport guy, effectively. And when the two of you got out, what was the markedly uncool hobby that the two of you shared together? What was in addition to all of the other ways that you were friends, what was the uncool thing that the two of you loved with all of your heart?
Oh, is it too on the nose to say RPGs?
Not even a little bit.
I think that when you're in the barracks, like you can't leave to go partying. When you're overseas, your options are very limited, and you can't like fly in TVs or video games. So it's mostly the older set playing cards, and then the quiet D&D clique. But I want to say that I was already a fan of that when I got in. Reggie was a late convert, but when he came out, he was so excited telling me about this game where you can like play fighters and like sea dragons and yeah.
That makes me really happy. So the two of you love this. Reggie also got along really nicely, like just as like a very physical, very enthusiastic, big puppy of a guy. Like Reggie was also like a big sport guy. He loved, hitting the gym. He was in a couple of the like pickup leagues that some of the guys had. And when you got out, Reggie took a very specific direction. He had been driving a car, driving a truck basically his entire term, and like became a delivery truck driver for like one of the big local factories in your small town. I imagine one of these big giant industrial factories. Took this job as a delivery truck driver and was pretty happy with that. You know, like it was one of those things where like you could had he still been around, you could see him still driving that truck 20, 30, 50 years from now, right? Like this, it is, you know, you would hear him, you'd see him behind the wheel, he would be, you know, banging the roof, he had his cassette player going. He seemed like he could have driven that delivery truck for this like industrial manufacturing plant around town to various, you know, construction sites and facilities and things pretty much for the rest of his days. Which, you know, I said, had he still been around, it's been about maybe a year or two. Does that feel right?
Yeah.
It's been about 2 years and he's been gone. It was just one of those things that happened, right? Like it was late at night. It was the last shipment of a very long day. There was an accident and he is no longer with us. Where I guess we're going right into this because and I should note, this is an important safety note. You and I have discussed a lot of the themes of that moment in that plot line beforehand. Listener, this is a discussed thing. We like had a session 0 discussion to talk through what we were comfortable with. I like just putting that out there so the listener knows that like we are approaching this safely and comfortably.
Absolutely. 100%.
What was the last thing that you two did together?
Among Reggie's many hobbies, sports-wise, it was the biggest thing, not in our town, but like 2 towns over, the medium town that is still a small town, but bigger than our small town.
Sure.
Had an indoor ice skating rink built. And he decided just nothing more in the world would be important to him than learning to play hockey. And in his Reggie way, he was badgering me to come along the whole time. I'll tell myself that it was because he didn't want to do it alone because he was a little scared, but like Reggie's never scared, so that never made sense. So we went to the first like practice open, just kind of see how you are on your skates things together. It went about as well as you'd imagine for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was the last thing. And the parting bit there was like me hauling myself up off the ice and obviously not having had a good time. But still being like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see about next time. Like I was kind of busy working stuff, but I'll try to, you know, make it. But in that tone of voice that says I absolutely will not try to make it.
For sure. So that is where, and then like, you know, you parted ways, you went home. A couple days later, like it wasn't the same night. It was just, you know, you're your friends, you keep up, but like it was a couple days, and that's when you got the news. And it has been a little under, it's not like an anniversary or anything, but like it has been a little bit under 2 years since you got that call, right?
Yeah.
And let's see, what do I want the inciting incident here to be? I'm trying to grasp at what the moment is that thrusts you out of it. You know what? I'm just going to say, where are you? This is a random Tuesday afternoon. Where are you? What are you doing? Like, what is an ordinary afternoon in your life look like?
Well, like Reggie, like most people of my age in the 80s, you know, you are stuck in the town. The mobility wasn't a thing. No one could take off for LA to make it big, or at least not me. Unlike Reggie, not working at the factory in the logistics sense, it's a very boring job for municipal government. Essentially, just like stamping permits for the clerk and making sure the records get filed. It is not stimulating. It is not enjoyable, but it pays well. And in 20 years, you get a pension because it's, you know, still the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
But given that life, you have to find the spice for the joie de vivre however you can. In a small town, in this case, that means treating myself to like 3,000 calories of the greasiest, drippiest, chilliest, like bellhop drive-through chili dog. So we're at that kind of place where you pull into the side and it's got the little phone that you order, and then someone on roller skates is going to bring it out. And I'm about halfway through my feelings on this overstuffed footlong.
And as you are stuffing your face, you notice here's what you notice. This is there is one of the servers is on roller skates and has two gigantic quote unquote glass mug, but they're plastic mugs of like root beer floats in these big plastic fake beer mugs. They're roller skating to a car. What happens is they start roller skating. You see them look around as though they like are as though and like kind of get a look of like who put in this order, and then it is almost perceptible that to anyone else who wasn't watching this quite as intently, you watch this 17-year-old completely wipe out and fall right back on his back. Like, you watch this 17-year-old on roller skates, this Judge Reinhold Fast Times looking dude, just obliterate, just like practically slip on a banana peel.
Oh, that's so funny because you said that and I immediately pictured Judge Reinhold.
It's the iconic fast food outfit. Put him on roller skates and you watch him just get knocked senseless on his back. And what you notice that maybe no one else does, and I will ask you like what it is that you pick up on, whether it is mundane or magical, is two things. It is that like the way that his body flops is not that he slipped. It is that like he was shoulder checked or belly flopped. You know what I mean? Like he falls from his core in a way that is not slipping on roller skates. And two, you watch both of those kind of root beer floats like hover upside down for like a second too long, and both like dump in the exact, like both spill in the exact same spot on the ground. And like you watch, like those are the two things that you notice.
Oh God, that, first of all, that is tragic, and my heart pours out to this person. I think I'll set my emotion as indigo, which is sad or remorseful, not for myself, but for Mr. Reinhold here, because no one likes to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that empathy of like watching the moment and having the full picture of it, like camera focused slow motion, that then gives you the wait a second on the other side. Because as you've described it, it's not like a pratfall or a banana peel. It sounds more like someone getting like body checked.
Mm-hmm.
And that immediately cues Reggie to mind.
Mm-hmm. He loved a good, and it was not a malicious, he just loved, like, it was a way that he greeted people was that he would give them a very loving, like, jumping, almost stinger splash body check at times if, like, he was so excited to see you. Sometimes you just dealt with a very large man just leaping at you.
The number of times I'd known he'd shown up to something when, like, total silence, you're in the library, and then he would just rumble out, and it's Reggie McKellen with a steel chair, as he just jumped into you for hug or for high five or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's burned into my brain like a GIF on repeat. Like, I could Discord that any day.
Yeah. You get this sense, and I'm gonna ask you for a roll, I think, to manifest it, but you get this unmistakable sense, this like tingling in the back of your brain, right? Like the magic in your mind, your heart, your blood tickles in a very specific way, in that way of like, you feel something kind of like creep around. You feel Reggie here in some capacity.
Oh, what emotion would you follow? Is that a blue for like an illusion, or?
I think so. I think this is, I'm gonna say probably blue or indigo, and then probably, would you call this psych or would you call this mental?
I think it's psych. As I interpret it, mental is squarely within the realm's temporal. That is, it's physics and that kind of stuff. Where psych
And
is
sort of
the
empirical
more,
evidence,
yeah.
right?
The difference between like knowledge and then like lore clerical, right?
Yeah. This feels like psych. And this is probably, you tell me. Are you still indigo from having seen this kid get bowled over? Are you blue because you've shifted into confusion? Like, what's your emotional state going into this moment?
Yeah, I think it starts out as indigo, just the tragedy of it all. But then when the physics, as we talked about, don't like really match up, that goes into confused, maybe also surprised, which is another key word there. So I can roll psych and blue.
Okay, give me that roll. You're gonna roll the two. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're gonna roll 2 dice here and take the higher of the 2 results. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you have dice associate, or you have dice. You've got your emotion dice, and then you've got your psych dice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Give me those 2 rolls and tell me what your result is.
That is a 5, top of me. A 1 from the emotion die, which was not, or from my psych. Sorry. That is a 5. That is a 1 from the psych die. Like we said, not the best at that, but I pulled a 5 on my emotion die.
So that is a success with consequences. That feels really good. I think you reach out, like you have this moment, you kind of narrow your eyes, you hold on to it, and sure enough, like you watch just as this second root beer float kind of spills onto the ground. For a second, there is your friend chugging an entire root beer float in one go, which is a thing that no one else in your life or maybe in this world could knock back a root beer float without getting a brain freeze like Reggie McConklin could.
Oh, he just opens his throat like a python. It's genuinely biologically confusing to watch.
It's a little bit, you're not wrong. It is a little confusing to watch.
Then as this is all happening, I mean, there's that first reflex anytime you see a ghost. Even in a world where ghosts are real, you have to like kind of check yourself. But I think it's the lack of the gulping sound. There's no swallow. It's just like a hollow tube. And that, I'm going to say root after root beer. It roots the moment exactly where it needs to be. As you've described him, are we talking like a shimmering outline Casper the Ghost? Or are we talking...
I think you see like a faded 1980s tabloid newspaper picture of your friend on the last night that you saw him. So he's wearing the hockey jersey. His entire look is sort of blurred, like sort of Gaussian blurred and kind of fuzzy. And just like slightly distant, but like unmistakably exactly like the last night that you saw him alive.
Well, then the correct 80s thing is to take the glasses off and do like the and then rub him with his t-shirt and put him back on, blinking, and he's still there. And I think before I even know it, like my hand is going to the door of the car to open it up, and it's so autopilot that I don't realize I'm still holding the hot dog in the other hand. So there's this really poignant face of surprise, but also longing, because, I mean, Reggie was my like BFF before that was the word you described these people. Juxtaposed with the like drip of a particularly globby glob of chili off the end of it.
And like with that, I think there's a moment where like he finishes the float, he looks over at you, and I am going to throw a few options at you. right? Like, because I've got some ideas, and I want to, both from like a safety standpoint, like a storytelling beat standpoint. I think this is going to set one of the big complications that we're facing as we go through this day with the two of you together. Is it? I guess, like, here's my thoughts, and I want you to kind of pick the one that feels the most narratively satisfying for you. Does he know that he's a ghost? Does he know that he has a day? Like, is it something that is taking a conscious effort for him to move through the day? Like, what are your thoughts about, like, what is complicating the day that the two of you have together for what's about to unfold?
Oh, I think I don't know anything about the way ghosts work in this universe. I think that's left out in the open on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But it being an emotional game, it makes sense for me that there's the theme of unfinished business, obviously, but from a positive place. So I think there's it's two-sided. There's one that Reggie hasn't completed something Reggie needs to do, or there's a feeling of unfinishedness about him. But that ghost can only manifest with someone who has that emotional connection, who is open to it.
Okay. Yep.
So I think he would know, but
so he knows he has business, but he can't do it without a connection to someone.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Okay.
This is for the GM side. I don't know if he knows he has to find someone, or it just like he has appeared and I'm here, but neither one of us really know why.
I think for expediency's sake, he probably knows that he needs to do the thing. Like, he probably knows, you know what, we're playing this out in scene. I think I've got it now. He finishes the root beer float, kind of like stands, looks in your direction, gives a belch, and then like a big wave, like, hey buddy.
Reggie,
and by the time you finish that sentence, like, he has disappeared and is sitting next to you in the car, having grabbed one of the chili dogs off of your little tray and is eating it himself.
Just as an aside, can our Judge Reinhold insert also see the ghost, or does he just see me talking to myself while
I think he just sees you talking to no one. Like, I think he sees hot dogs disappearing and you talking to no one.
Okay. So there's the back and forth, me looking at him looking at me, him the server. I'm imagining very quickly just extricating himself from the situation. Like, there's enough magic in this world that people who aren't magical know when to get out of the way. And then that lets us kind of like zoom in.
I think that the server specifically sees you talking to no one and a hot dog disappearing, smutters, ugh, wizards.
Wizards. So that frees up. Then I'm imagining like the camera like through the windshield at the two of us, and I'm just so sorry. I you're supposed to have something to say here, right? You're supposed to be like, oh my god, it's so good to see you, or what are you doing here? But it's just just like old times.
I mean, pretty much. I don't know. I don't. Can I ask a question and have it not be the weirdest thing in the world?
I think you're going to have to try really hard to be weirder than, this.
How long, just to ground myself, how long has it been? How long have I been hanging around the burger joint?
I'm going to be totally honest with you, friend. I eat here like twice a week, and this is the first time.
Okay, but like, I guess look, I don't want to be blunt. I don't want to be like over, I want to be like sensitive to everything, but like, when did I kick the bucket?
About 2 years ago.
2 years, fuck. Okay.
Do you not have like ghost time?
It kind of all happens at once, like it kind of just sort of, the montage from The Breakfast Club?
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's kind of just that all the time. Like, it kind of just is. So, like, I've been hanging around here. I've been like hanging around the Orange Julius at the mall. Kind of just been putting around, and like, time doesn't super exist if I don't have like a tether. It's sort of just a series of moments.
That sounds really boring.
Food's good.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least you got that. So wait, no one else has been. This is the first time you've been able to. I'm like making ghost interaction motions with my hand.
I mean, like pretty much. I don't know, like you got to have somebody that you're like connected to, right? That you're like, like you're like, yeah, with, and I don't,
Oh,
you know.
well then, since you got one, can I also have like a question that might make things weird?
Yeah, that seems fair. That seems like a fair trade-off.
If you've been around town the whole time, and so have I, why now?
Uh,
And you can see this kind of like deflation almost, where like my best friend is a ghost in a world where that's not like a thing you get scared about. And he's been in town for 2 years, but I've been alone the whole time. And he's living his best Molly Ringwald montage life, and I'm a clerk. And so for him to just
give me a reaction roll. I think this is a good reaction roll moment, or not a reaction roll. I think this is a what's the term for not getting a condition? I think it's a reaction roll.
Oh, you've asked the one that I have to go scroll and find.
It is just a roll. You're gonna roll. You're gonna try not to get a. I think it's a. Yeah, you're gonna make me a roll. This is just a roll that I'm putting on you to avoid getting a condition. How are you processing this acknowledgement? And I think that like there's this look in like as you think about what dice you want to roll, there's this look in Ronnie's eyes, and it's not like it's intentional. Like it's not like he like could have sought you out. It's that like I don't know, we've probably been in the same place before. It's kind of weird that like we haven't like you know what I mean? Like it is a very much a like I don't have the kind of supernatural answers that would explain why in this moment we have linked up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I still feel like that psych, which is making me regret the way I've built this character. As for the emotion, I think it's not sadness. I think there's an element of like betrayal in it. Not strictly betrayal, but like it's closer to angry. Like it's in the red orange area. There's frustration for him not being able to explain it, and then aside from that, there's like it's a main dish of frustration with a side dish of more frustration because he also doesn't seem that interested in knowing. So
that feels red to me.
Okay. So then that's going to be a 2d4 roll. I do not like my odds.
It is what it is.
Good. I got a 4. That's as best as it's going to be.
Okay. Is that with on the 2d4 added together?
Actually, sorry, I forgot about this rule. When you roll the max value on a die, it explodes and you add it.
Yes, that's why I was asking.
I rolled a 1 on the psych die, but a 4 on my rage die. So I will roll that again and we'll add to it.
Yep.
With a 2, so that makes it a 6.
Okay. Do you add both dice together or do you pick one? That's what I'm trying to remember.
So we roll 2, you take the highest.
You take the higher and then you compare that. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you are going to get a small condition is what's going to happen. The condition is, let me pull up the terminology for conditions. You are going to get an emotional condition that is, what's the rankings on them? It's an emotional condition. This is a bogus condition. This is simple and inconvenient. This is frustrated. You said it is a main course of frustration, side dish of frustration. You are frustrated. Something, whether intentional or otherwise, has blocked you from seeing your friend around for the past 2 years. And I think like he sits for a second, finishes the hot dog, and goes, "So you want to hit the dungeon tournament?"
It's just this face of blank reaction that is just screaming like that's what you're on about right now. Like the dungeon turn. Sorry. First of all, there are napkins in the glove compartment.
Oh, Thank you. Oh my god, that's so nice.
I just
you'd think with the whole ghost thing, like I wouldn't need them, but like
it's not entirely clear to me that it stays inside. But at the point, there's so much. There's so. My God, can you just for a second look? I know you are stuck in the middle of the first act of a movie, and I get that. But some of us have had to be back in this town alone for 2 years. And so you're back all of a sudden, and like that's great for you. I'm super excited, but I look at in the rearview mirror. I don't think you quite know what it was like for you to be gone.
That's fair. I probably deserve that.
Sorry, I don't. I just
No. You don't got to apologize. That's that's part of being bros is that we can be honest with each other. That's what makes this. That's what makes us. And he gives that same flex again. Let me sit for a second and really. Okay, I'm gonna try. And like he closes his eyes and squints, and you see the swirling, like the roof of your car opens to the swirling infinite cosmos, which is perhaps not what you were expecting.
Very elaborate sunroof special effects.
Okay, yeah. Okay, got it. Yep, got it. Ow. Don't do that. Oh.
I should have been more careful. It never was your strong suit.
Is that what brain freezes are like? People have been saying this to me for 10 years. Is that what I'm supposed to be getting when I drink the ice cream?
Yeah, let's go with that. That's easier
than... Oh, that's terrible.
It's not great.
Okay, here's the deal. I'm a ghost. That means I have business. Right?
I think so.
Best I can tell from, spooky, I think I got business, and I think that I need somebody to work through that business with me. Problem is, I don't know what that business is. I can tell you stuff that I would like to do, but I don't know if any of it is like the business. And I think like if I'm not connected to someone, I think I'm just going to keep eating hot dogs.
Okay, but there are like worse ways to live.
I mean, like I'm not complaining, but like I also recognize like I'd probably like to get, through the thing and get through the business. If I'm supposed to be doing ghost business, I feel like there's going to be something after the ghost business that's going to make doing the business worth it.
I mean, else, why would they have you be doing the business?
That's what I'm trying to so I guess I got to do the business, but like I know stuff that I want to do, but like I don't know which of those things is going to be like the thing.
I mean, you know what I'm going to say. We make a list.
Okay, let's do it.
And I'll open up the center console where there is absolutely like a sticky pad with a pen already on it, specifically for the point.
Fucking dweeb.
The geekiest of geeks, leaning way into.
You are a dweeb. You are I love you. You're closer than family. You fucking nerd.
And then the click of a pen as a punctuation mark on that sentence.
All right.
Okay.
What's the shit I like to do?
So thing one, was eat a hot dog or knock down a surfer on the list?
I don't think so. It was funny. I don't think it was on my list of like stuff I want to do though.
No, because I guess if that was like the business, we'd be done, right?
That probably, right? Like that feels. Let's see. I want to. I want a dungeon tour. I'm going to do the dungeon tournament. I know that it's Saturday. What's a good game shop name? What's a good obnoxious game shop name? The Goblin's Orb.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
The Goblin's Orb has got the dungeon tournament. I want to do the dungeon tournament. I wanna go to the movies. That'd be cool.
Okay.
I want to eat at Pete's. Get like breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast at Pete's. Tiffany still works there.
Tiffany still works there? I feel like I figured she'd quit by now.
Yeah, well, we've been saying that for 5 years now.
Yeah. And then I guess donuts in the factory parking lot. That'd be cool. I don't know. There's probably something at work. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be donuts, right? But like,
Yeah.
I don't know what else I'd want out of work. And then, oh, you know what? Hockey. I want to play hockey. Can we put that on the list?
Never before in human history has someone written a word with more trepidation than I am writing the word hockey right now.
Okay. Read me back the list.
Yeah. Okay. So, thing 0, eat a hot dog, crossed out, not the thing.
Cross that out. We got it. We're making progress. We're crushing this.
Thing 1, dungeon tournament at Goblin's Orb. I want to put a pin in that. Come back.
Yeah. We can come back to it.
2, movies. Got
Movies.
it. Yeah.
Feels great.
3, breakfast with Tiffany at Pete's. And then 4, hockey question, like a game. Do you want to watch? Are we playing or?
I feel like I want to hit the ice. Like, I think I was just getting good.
Okay.
I'd like to hit the ice.
All right. So then we got dungeon tournament, we got movies, we got breakfast, and then we have hit the ice at the hockey.
Yes.
That's a good start. I have some news for you though about the dungeon tournament.
Yeah. Hit me.
There's a new edition out.
Oh, I'm gonna have to learn a whole new set of. Okay. Do you know the new rules?
I don't think anyone knows the new rules, man.
That's fine. That gives us the edge. So I'm going to ask you, Aaron, which of these things do you want to knock off of the list first? You have been given a list of the things that your ghost friend wants to do. What are the things that you want to knock off of this list?
I feel like chronologically we have to put them in the order that makes the most sense, right?
Yes.
So we've said it's like 5 p.m. We're gonna need to make arrangements. I feel like now we get the montage where they buy the AD&D second edition book and start learning how to calculate to hit and the new classes.
Sure.
But then we can start with breakfast. We'll say like it's a Saturday, so then like the tournament goes from like 10 to 6 or whatever on a Saturday. Then catch a matinee, and then the hockey game will be like the big event of the night.
That feels good. Okay, so then we flash to like you've got the books. We flash to the two of you standing in front of the empty storefront of Pete's with a sign that says Pete's thanks you for your service. After 37 years, we have decided to close. I'm retiring to Boca. Thank you all for a wonderful experience. You are faced with a closed restaurant. How do you want to approach this?
Look, my best friend is a ghost, and he has ghost business. And when a ghost friend gives you a list of ghost business, you can't. It's like Pete's, no substitutions. Yeah. So and
also eggs anyway.
Right. So I think the right move is if Pete's isn't going to open for us, then we can open Pete's. And I'm sorry, I'll take it in character. Hey, Red, do you remember that one time we weren't supposed to go out, but we went to that party at Millie's house?
We swore we never talk about that day, so of course not.
Right, yeah. But then like we made it back and we stuck into your place, but then we had to we were starving. And do you remember what it was like trying to cook, making absolutely zero noise in your mom's kitchen?
Oh man, what a mess! That was the second best omelet I ever had after the clean the grill omelet from Pete's.
All right, well, hear me out. Can't have been closed that long. The grocery store is like a block away. I bet they haven't turned the gas off yet.
I like where your head's at.
So then, yeah, I think my plan would be we're going to grab some perishables and then break into Pete's.
All right. I think that you can get this stuff. I think I'm going to ask you for a roll for how you're breaking into Pete's. So what's the emotion? What's the skills or magic that you're using to break in here?
I think the emotion, well, we'll say that my emotion for the scene right now is yellow, because I'm optimistic.
That feels good.
Beginning of the day. For the skill, I want to say motor, because this is the classic 1980s lockpicking scene.
Yep, that feels good. That feels really good.
And then in terms of which emotion that goes with, I know like orange is aggressive and vigilant.
I would probably say orange, so you're going to roll a d6 here.
Yeah.
Because it's a one step away from your emotional state.
So 2d6, we'll see. I like also the idea of the ghost holding the grocery bag. So anyone else who cannot see him just sees the grocery bag floating behind me.
Feels great.
4 is the highest from me.
4 is the highest. I think that's a success with a complication.
I believe so.
Just confirm. So what that looks like is a success with a consequence. Give me a second. Like you managed to break in. You crack it. The gas is still on. You managed to make 2 classic Pete's Clean the Grill omelets. Before you see the cop lights outside, and I need you to make a roll to run from the police.
In 80s fashion, running with the plates, right? We're not leaving the omelets behind. Okay, so it's going to be probably motor and orange again?
That feels like motor and orange. That feels like a good 2d6.
Okay. Well, so I was on yellow before, so the last roll moved me to orange. Now I am rolling orange, so it's a d6 and
it's a d8. D6 and a d8.
Yeah, I will take stress on that orange. We can clear that in a second. That is an 8.
Is that an 8 on the die?
Oh, sorry, it explodes again. Sorry, I'll go again.
It explodes. Yeah, roll that again.
That is an 8 plus. Oh my god, that's 2 8s.
That is success with great effect.
8, 8, and 7. That's 15, 23. Does the chart go that high?
It does not. It stops after 12. So I'm just happy to know how high that you've rolled. So success with great effect. Let me talk to you about what that looks like. Where's that? Success with great effect. When you succeed with great effect, you get a narrative boon. I'm going to say you actually just get to clear stress from that emotion. Well, you decide. Do you want to clear stress from that emotion? Do you want to take +2 on your next roll? Do you want to rewrite a condition, or do you want to gain a heart?
I think clearing stress is the right move here, because there is the euphoria of, I am told, hypothetically, not that I know from my own life, there's a certain euphoria in escaping the law.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to be frustrated, it's hard to be stressed when you and your buddy are 2 corners around from the cops, eating the rest of your ill-gotten omelet.
Yep. And I think that the other narrative boon I'm going to give you is you have in breaking in and poking around with the stuff that was still back here, you found the secret ingredient. It is what is the meat that is thrown into the Clean the Grill omelet that really, really elevates it? I think it is a very thinly chopped Korean spiced pork belly that is mixed into the sausage and the chorizo and everything, and it adds this very distinct gochujang sweetness to it. Yeah. You get that sweet, that smoky, it's pork belly that has been flavored with gochujang and with sort of a honey, so it's got a little bit of sweetness, it's got that smokiness from the gochujang, and it just adds this element that isn't in the rest of the meats that are mixed in. It is a greasy omelet.
There's also no way that that's on the menu, because people in a small town would not be okay with that. So I think Pete just calls it and Pete's special blend.
He just called, truly what it is my favorite thing in a diner menu, where it just says the Clean the Grill omelet. You're going to love what you get. And you just know to order that. There is no explanation of what is in the Clean the Grill omelet, just beyond, you're going to love what you get.
So we have the 2 omelets, and then the bag. You don't want to leave the receipt behind, obviously. And then as we're scooping all the things back into the bag because the police lights are there, we also grab this container that was somehow left behind. And so we're cleaning the plates off. We're in an alleyway because of course we are. So you can just throw the plates into the nearest dumpster. And the bag is weirdly heavy considering that we cooked this omelet. And then what kind of container does Korean pork belly come in?
I think it's just it is legitimately a takeout Tupperware container, because it has been custom seasoned It is like his cousin, it is Pete's custom seasoning blend, like sauce blend that he personally like stews this pork belly in or marinates it in for like 12 to 24 hours. So there's just a literal single Tupperware container of this like very marinated pork belly, and you're just like, this is it.
It's a bit like in Pulp Fiction. You open the briefcase
That's
and the
exactly
gold
the
comes
reference I was about
out.
to make. You look at the shot of us looking at the briefcase, like,
Because
this is the greatest day.
crack open the edge of it because there's that confusion. Like, what the fuck is this? And then sorry, can we swear in your podcast?
Yeah, 100%. Been swearing this whole fucking time.
Sorry, I just didn't. So yeah, like you're cracking the open, and so yeah, you're cracking open the corner of the Tupperware, and that smell that comes out is just like, oh, holy shit. And like eyes go in narrow, like your mouth instantly salivates, like this is the stuff.
This changes everything. We gotta make the most of this. We gotta experiment. We got shit. Tournament is in 20 minutes.
Oh.
And if we are not there at deadline, they will cut us off. They will cut, well, you, because they didn't put my name on the roster. They will cut you off of that roster.
Yeah. Okay. Oh God, they don't let food come in. We'll deal with it. And I think it's like a dissolve cut to turning the corner of the alleyway and then arriving in front of the I almost said the Goblin's Hole. Sorry.
Goblin's Hole.
Very different establishment.
The Goblin's Orb.
So it's a dissolve cut, turning around the corner and then arriving in front of the Goblin's Orb, like camera behind, the two of us standing, him still holding the floating grocery bag.
And I think like trying to think where is funny for him to like, he like floats up, like he does floats up and stashes it in just like stashes it in an air vent. I think like this tournament, talk to me about what's like how this tournament is going. I think that I'm trying to think what I want the challenge here to be.
So reaching into my deep brain memory, as I remember it, the original D&D tournaments were an impossible, like classic Gygaxian dungeon, and whoever made it the furthest with the most loot won.
That's what it is. Yes. So, I'm going to have to decide how I want to mechanically influence this. I think maybe I'll give you an extra die roll. Maybe I'll allow you to roll an extra emotion die. Because I think like, well, talk to me. Like, how are you actually? I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to say, talk to me about like how you, because I think like, I think like, what is your approach realizing that like Reggie's not actually able to play in this tournament on account of he is not alive in us and is a ghost that only you can see? Like, what is your solution to that's the challenge, is how do you play this game with your friend?
Well, I want to make a distinction between two things, because first of all, there is play, and second, there is win, right?
That's a good distinction.
So we're competing against other players, and I think one or two things can happen. Either, depending on how Reggie feels about it, and I think we should talk about this, he and I, like in hushed whispers. Nothing says he can't go behind the GM screen, right? But I understand he also might have a very sophisticated code of metagaming honor, in which case the right move would be to sabotage the other players. And we'd have to introduce a real nemesis here.
It is Weston Featherbrook.
Oh god.
Weston Featherbrook is the head of Weston Featherbrook is the head of the is the faculty advisor for the high school Great Literature Society. He was he was the villain in every high school camp movie.
Oh,
he was the rich kid across the lake. He is now an adult. He has not gotten better.
Oh, and he's using all that money to buy like the really you go play D&D night at his, and he's got the whole table in the basement and like the custom terrain and the painted minis, but he didn't paint them. He had someone paid.
He cares so much about like he cares so much about just like winning at this, because he knows that the kids in the Great Literature Society care about it, that he has decided, well, obviously I must be the best at it, and thus they will recognize that I'm an authority, and thus when I recommend them to great literature, they will recognize the value of it. So he has put all of his money into winning this very silly tournament.
Aaron, hate this guy already, and I know that Michael agrees.
I think you lay out those options to Reggie, and he just kind of snorts. Code of honor. Not cheating sounds great. I fucking love to cheat.
Okay, then.
I was cheating in your game for years.
What?
Did you not know that? You had to know.
No, that's why.
Did you not piece together that did you not piece together that every one of my characters had straight 18s down the line?
Well, no, I mean, I obviously noticed, because, like, how could I not on the dice-wise? But you... Oh, my God.
All my characters were, like, super jacked and powered. Did you not notice that?
No,
Come on.
I know. I think it's
Come
like that.
on.
That part's fine, but I'm remembering now when I told you, you said, hey, can I borrow your homework for algebra? And I said, absolutely, it's in my bag. And then I couldn't find my DM notes over study hall, and they came back lit. And I'm just crossing my arms staring at him.
Eh?
That's how you knew he was weak to fire. Oh, God, you bastard.
Well, you also made a whole big thing about, like, you know, you kind of foregrounded it a lot. You made it that, like, he kept putting out torches and things, and you kept making a big deal. I would have pieced it together, admittedly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, we'll never know now, will we?
We'll never know, because it cheated, because cheating is fun. Now, do you want to cheat to win this tournament or not?
It's your list, of course. Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah, we're going to cheat. Let's go. So give me what's your mood going into this scene at this moment?
I think on the back, we're still yellow from the joyous escape, and then also being like, we're doing our nerdy hobby together, right? So we're having a good day.
I think this is also like the to coordinate with Reggie to win this is also a yellow roll. Like, this is a joyous thing. I think I could maybe see an argument for green.
Oh, I was gonna think blue, because there's the communicating illusion. You know what?
I'll take that. I'll take a blue, which puts you at a D4.
Yeah, a D10 and a D4. And we're gonna hang on to blue because it's not enough to win. We also have to humiliate Weston, and I've got something in mind for that.
All right.
Okay, so a D10 and a D4. Here we go. A 9.
9 is good. 9 is, I believe, a success. Let me confirm that.
I think what works best here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Is that because Reggie and I have played so many games together, he is able to communicate to me using like an offhanded code, right? There's no questions. He's like, hey, do you remember when we were in Gragnak the Destroyer's dungeon? And then like in that one long hallway, and he can just talk to me where no one else can hear, but I know that means there's a sliding floor trap that I need to like use my 10-foot pole to find beforehand.
That's fantastic. That's great. I think that's fantastic. And I think that we watch Weston just get table flipping furious every time you're like, I'm gonna use my 10-foot pole to slide along the ground. He's like, this is absurd. There should be rules to dictate whether or not you are successful with this.
He's gonna hate the next thing then.
Nonsensical games.
Because I think as we get like there has to be a big evil monster at the end, right? Like they didn't have challenge ratings back then, but the fight you're not supposed to have. And because blue covers illusions, and I am a fucking wizard, I want to illusion his big coup de grace, big attack roll to be a natural 1.
That's funny. That's very funny. Give me that roll.
Oh God, that's going to be psych for magic, I suppose, huh?
Yep.
Oh, that's a 3, but this is a case where we can use heart, if I recall.
This is a case where you can use heart.
And for me, heart is just re-roll the die, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I think it's worth it. Odds are not great that I'm going to get a 4, but we will see. And then, here we go. Oh, wait, do I re-roll both of them?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, that is what I'm looking at. 1 4 on the table, and it becomes a 7.
7's good. 7 is a success. So that is 7 is a success with a consequence. I think the consequence here is I'm going to say the consequence here is take a bogus condition to your blue that is a physical emotion that is bruised legs, as I did describe Weston as table flippingly mad.
It's the action. I have been injured as
a table has come down on your legs.
Oh my god, that's so good.
So you got bruised up legs.
Oh, and I think I know that Michael is not this kind of person, but I know that Reggie is definitely like the egg it on who is just in Ghost with like, well, calm down, Martin, or calm down, Weston. It's just a game. We're supposed to be having fun.
Reggie is doing this dancing in his, and then sees your legs like, oh crap, like grabs the pork belly, like walks you out, and walks you out, and we get like a cut of you walking off frame, and I don't have a challenge for this necessarily, so I'm just gonna say, what movie is playing that you are seeing at the theater?
Oh, I need to actually like Google something here, because if we're in the 80s, it has to be like a thing, right?
1987 in movies. I don't know why I've randomly decided 87, but that's the number that I put in.
We got RoboCop, Predator, Spaceballs, The Lost Boys, Princess Bride. Oh man, this is a good year.
It's a good year.
Hellraiser came out, but it didn't have a wide release. So I think the question then is, we can just see like outside the marquee looking, and then I can just ask Reggie, like, it's your list. What movie are we doing? Like action, adventure, horror.
You see Reggie's face light up, just like explode with excitement. How do you feel about watching the film Broadcast News? The James L. Brooks rom-com about the news industry with Holly Hunter and Albert Brooks.
I have never heard of this, but
it's pretty good. It's actually a pretty good movie, but it's like, it's about it is what it sounds like, is what I will say. Like, it's a good rom-com, it's a good movie, but was this what you were expecting to hear from your friend, and how do you feel sitting in this theater?
No, that first of all shifts my emotion to blue for confused. Because I'm like, RoboCop's right there, and Reggie's this huge, big... It's like finding out he's really into musical theater, right? Like, I was never in a million years.
He's just like, man, I love movies, like Network. Movie fucking rip, dude. And I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take, I love movies about media, man. Like, have I never talked to you about this?
No. First, you've never talked to me about movies, let alone...
I can't believe that. I'm a cinephile.
Is this a new thing?
It can't be a new thing, but it's at least minimum 2 years old, but probably 4 or 5 years old, after I got out of service, and not a ton to do around. So I started going to movies, and I just really got into, watching movies. And then, you start watching movies, you start with the big fun stuff. And then you kind of just start like, what else is out there? And you start kind of, seeing stuff and appreciating the craft. This guy's great. He's working on a cartoon.
Literally just like a CVS receipt of new information going into Michael's brain as Reggie unveils this new information. Oh man. Although having since read a synopsis of the film Broadcast News, one of the ending notes is apparently, spoilers for Broadcast News, mass layoffs.
This is true.
And I think that can rope into a conversation about small towns in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And I think that conversation happens while we're doing donuts in a parking lot.
Yeah. I wonder if it makes sense as a retcon, because you did mention... Oh no, sorry, you'll have to cut this out, but you mentioned already the factory, hang out, see the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. That was one of the things he wanted to do. He said, as he put it, one of the things he wanted to do was donuts in the parking lot, and he's like, it can't just be that.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just that.
It is just that, and I think the way that it takes shape is like, okay, well, we have a minute before the hockey thing, right? It turns out the tournament went a lot more quickly than expected. So we go and pick up the donuts. I know that Reggie has always been about bear claws. Keeping with the theme of things are just larger around Reggie, it has to be big food too. So why have a normal small round donut when you can have a very long big donut?
Yep.
And then I'm going to say it's from the shop that he would pick them up for, like, when it was his turn, starting shift, everyone shows up, gets their truck keys and such. But there is hesitation about it, and I'm a lot quieter as we're driving over because I know what Reggie doesn't, apparently, which is that the factory shut down. Like every factory in 1989, right?
Yep.
So whatever he was expecting when we drive up, it starts at like the gate, which is just chain linked over now. There's no guy there checking badges. Sidewalk has weeds and stuff growing up through it. And then the actual building itself is a mishmash of like plywooded over and then like windows broken through. There's graffiti. We've gone from Pulp Fiction to broadcast news, and now we are in the B-roll of an upcoming Michael Moore documentary. I think Roger and Me came out in the 90s.
I think early 90s. And I think like Reggie walks up and like grabs the lock and just like snaps it, like in like a shocking display of like corporeality and power, just like cracks the lock, pulls it off, pushes open the gate. So are we doing donuts or what?
Yeah, man.
Fuck. Okay.
I guess it wasn't that long after you back to back, you and then the town.
Well, damn.
Yeah. Oh shit, sorry. I don't think we established what this factory made. So it needs to be something.
It's like construction equipment or something. Like it's very like manufacturing, like auto parts maybe.
Okay, so then it's
a very like 80s factory.
Then the answer would be, Rise of Japan newspaper says high tech manufacturing and couldn't compete.
And like sitting on the trunk of the car, we see the donut marks on the parking lot. I don't know. I guess I was expecting something like show up and tell off my boss for mistreating me, or, tell him to stop making people work so late that they're on the road when all hell's breaking loose, or I don't know, something.
I mean,
catharsis, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess you're a ghost. You can't really like piss on your boss's desk.
Yeah, but like nobody'd find it. I mean, even if I could like get you to do like an exorcist thing and vomit everywhere, but like nobody'd see it. Feels like it'd be a waste. It would be cool.
Also be a waste.
Unless you really want to like have your head turn around and have you vomit everywhere. Like I could do that, but like it would really just be for us. And I don't know if that's the thing you'd be interested in.
I mean, like, it's your day, man. And what are friends for if not to enable? I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but like, I don't really want that because that sounds gross. So like,
is there something that? Okay, let's try this. Right, think about it. You're coming back from like the second shift.
I'm coming back. Is there anything? Is there a thing here that I want? Yes. Are you forklift certified? Probably not.
No, look at me.
Okay. Hold on then. And I think we just get like one long shot. We get like the driver's side shot of a donut being done, but it's being done from a forklift, which is the single most unsafe thing that could possibly happen.
Hey, that's the lesson one in becoming forklift certified is just a big slide that says do not do donuts in the forklift. He's probably at the tines all the way up too. No center of gravity.
He's we just see your face as you are just mortified as he is just hitting this donut like, oh, they told us so much not to do that. That was great.
Oh man, I think there's an acute moment of actual fear because being in a dangerous automobile situation with someone who died in a dangerous automobile situation, there's no amount of friendship that can really.
You know what? Make me a roll to avoid a condition here.
Okay, I can.
What's your mood going into this scene?
I think starting outside the factory, it would have been in indigo for remorseful. Now we are definitely afraid, but there's
afraid
no
is probably orange, right?
Well, so this is I didn't notice the first time I played it, but Curtis talked about like fear isn't by itself an emotion, like excitement isn't itself an emotion.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So you have to think about
that's awesome. I love that.
So you have to think about like what is the fear of, and that will lead you to the answer. And I think I would say two things. I would say one, it could be orange in the like vigilant anticipation of imminent demise. Or it could be violet, which is the cold emptiness of the void. I
almost think violet feels good, like especially the conversation you've just had. And this is such like a sorry if you want to go the other way.
No, by all means.
Because I'm also thinking like this is such a empty gesture, right? Like you can tell he's having a blast, but like this is something that both of you kind of came to with a sense of like, well, I guess it's fucking something.
Definitely not our first idea.
Yeah, like this is truly just to do something, and this is kind of where we landed. So I think violet is the way to go. So it's going to be a D6 plus your probably what would you say? Motor, psych, mental? Like how are you keeping it together right now?
There's a thing about when you're trained in the armed forces, like the idea is to get the action buried in the reptile brain. So like when the alarm goes off, you don't go alarm, panic, go to station. You just go alarm, station. You skip that middle part.
Sure.
So in that, I think it's going to be either motor. I'm not driving. It might be bod. I don't know. Whichever of those two things you think is more appropriate. But it's definitely the physical act of staying in the forklift, like when it starts to tip up on its wheels, the reaction to like keep your weight leaning in the right direction.
I would say if one of those is higher than the other, like that's probably the one that you've been trained to lean on. Otherwise, I think either one works.
Okay, we'll say motor because I don't want to die in a tragic forklift accident.
That feels like if you were, trained in vehicles, like that feels like your instinct is like, even if you are a passenger, you're kind of going into vehicle awareness mode.
For sure. So that's 2d6 then. Oh no. That is a 2 is my highest result.
You know what it is? It's worse than any injury. Forklift just tips over. You hit it, like you start to Reggie almost hits it, and it just kind of like doesn't even like slide really, like he hits it and it just kind of like chunk and like falls over, and it's like not really going fast enough that it's like it's scary, but it's also like disappointing more than anything.
That's the humiliation of anticlimax.
It's an anticlimax, and that's what you're feeling. And I think I'm going to put on your violet the condition of disappointed, disillusioned.
Yeah, because I think I only went on with the idea because even if it's a small thing, the small things like matter in friendships, right? And to know that like I couldn't deliver what Reggie wanted out of this place for circumstances that were outside of my control. And even the third tier consolation prize forklift donut doesn't come together. But this time it's just because like I'm me. And that's always been me. Reggie's always had the big ideas that I couldn't do because I'm not strong enough or fast enough to do those things. So it is a real like microcosm of our friendship happening as the forklift just teeters and then whomps onto the ground.
I think like he helps you out of it, like he kind of lifts you up out of it and stands for a second. And like you look over and like you are feeling pretty low, but you look over and he looks shockingly content as he looks at this forklift and kind of looks at you, a little bit of a smile. I think I'm ready.
We're good here?
I think I'm ready to play some hockey.
Okay, we have to put it back?
Why? Shut down factory. Nobody gives a shit.
Okay. I mean, you're the one who's forklift certified.
I mean, in theory, if it were running, we would want to put it back. But if we were running, I would never want to do this to begin with.
That's on me. I am making a joke, trying to crack back and get him to go. But I like that he's taking it really seriously. Like Reggie, forklift certified is not a joke for this man.
No, he took his work very seriously, and I think like he's like, I'm ready to play some hockey.
All right. Well, as we go, I'll make a above the table note that I'll mark my malfunction of pushover. You gain a heart when you do more than you should for others to gain their approval, and risk certain death on a forklift is way.
That's earning some heart. That's earning a heart.
Yeah,
and the thing that when you arrive at the rink, it is all of the lights are out, like the place is closed. But the door is wide open. There's a door to the locker room that is wide open, despite there being no cars in the parking lot and there being no like people around. Like this is a closed rink that the door is just kind of swinging open.
That is very unusual.
And I think you look over and he's got his skates in his hand and he's all suited up. You need to get changed, or like if I do some ghost shit, is that going to be weird?
I think it's supposed to be weird, right?
All right, well, and you are fully in hockey gear with a pair of skates in your hand. He's like, let's head inside.
Also instantly off balance, not expecting the pads and the stick all of a sudden. Okay, let's do this.
You get inside, and you see on the ice there is an entire it is a crowded and rowdy hockey game unfolding on the ice, and everyone on the ice has that exact same newsprint aesthetic that Reggie has.
There is a ghost hockey league in this town?
I don't think so. I think it's sort of just for me.
That's better, right?
I guess. I mean, I guess it's how we know I guess it's how we get to wherever we're going next. We'll hit the ice for a little while?
Yeah, before we go, I think it's really important for you to know that I was terrible at that one practice and have never skated ever again.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, okay, so this isn't like that thing, like the movie doesn't go like, you can do it, Michael, and you pass the puck to me, like, no, we're going to lose if you do that.
No, well, we're going to skate, and then I'm going to play hockey, and then you're probably going to head home and never play hockey again.
That is how it ends, huh? All right. Okay. Look, yes. Okay, I'll skate, and no, you know what? We got this.
We got this. Listen. If you need anything, just give me a shout. I'm going to run up. I'll do a shoulder check. I'm thinking I'm a goon. I'm thinking I'm a hitter guy. I think that's what I'm doing.
I think that's what you were born to do.
Right? That feels right to me.
You were a hockey goon before you were a hockey goon.
And you hit the ice. What is the final... You were skating next to each other. You're playing some hockey. Some of it goes very, very badly on your end, but you watch him pull off some of the most immaculate hockey slams that you've ever seen. And like, there's a moment in a lull in the game. He kind of like slides up, scrapes the ice, stands next to you. What is the last thing that you say to your friend before he ice skates to whatever is next?
Because they're like the impulse is to go with that like really sappy. This is being a good friend, but that also points it in the wrong direction because it's supposed to be for him and not for me. Mm-hmm. Unless that's the thing, right? Is that the big reveal that he is here because his business is giving me permission to move on?
It wasn't until I think until you said that, and I think it is to a certain extent like the two of you having this day together.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I have never hated anything more. The anxiety of all of this.
Yeah, I figured.
Oh God. And then just, there's like a max limit of time you're allowed to spend in the penalty box, right?
Theoretically, you're just supposed to get thrown out of the game at some point.
Oh, there's no ghost refs.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of just winging it.
Yeah, winging it. God, first of all, I didn't know ghosts could collide that hard with each other, but that
right?
it's remarkable. Look, I don't know what the thing is. I don't know if this did it, but I want you to know that I'm glad we got on the ice together.
Hey man, me too. This was a good day. Thank you for it. And he kind of rears back and gives you like a big chest bump.
Comedically, are we still on skates?
Yes.
So then it is perfect because I am not balanced at all on these things, and the chest bump turns into me like arms flailing, trying to stay on skates before colliding with the wall of the hallway.
And you are against the wall, and you see him like give you like a wink and a finger gun. Grab the stick, get back into it, barrel into somebody. They go hurtling into a separate wall, and you watch this hockey game unfold for a minute until it just kind of fades away. And then you're just left alone on the ice, and you pack your stuff up, you head home. And I have a closing beat for you that is 2 years later. Where are you? I guess like what piece of your life looks different 2 years later?
I think it's the moving on that makes it possible. The concept, right, being introduced, that it does take sometimes a supernatural feat to break yourself out of something. And having spent that time with Reggie and seeing that even in the dimensions that exist beyond ours, a right push can help someone escape what they're in, that 2 years from now, I am not in our small town. I am in a much bigger town that has its own professional sporting team. And I know that you are an actual sports fan, so I don't want to pick one that you don't like. So
here's the thing. Admittedly, I am less of a sports fan and more of a Philadelphia sports fan. But I feel like if I'm picking a sport that I like the most, it's probably football.
Okay, so if we say he's at Chicago, we'll stay Midwest. If he's at a Blackhawks game, then that's not going to send you spiraling into rage.
No, not at all.
Right, okay.
So you have left. We see you at this game. We see you at this sports game. You're walking out, and you see a newsstand, and you see on that newsstand there is an interview with, like, you are flashed back to that day 2 years ago. There is an interview with that guy that directed that news movie that your friend made you go to. And sure enough, your friend spouting off about how he was making a cartoon turned out to be correct. Because he is, and for a moment, like, you feel a hand on your shoulder as you look at this ad that says that James Earl Brooks has produced a new cartoon about the modern American family. You hear Reggie's unmistakable laughter as we see you sit down to watch the first episode of The Simpsons in 1989.
Wow, that is perfect.
And that's game.
Oh, it's such a good time.
That was amazing. That was an incredible experience. I love this. That made me so happy.
I gotta be 100% honest that when I was looking to pitch to you, one of the first things I did was go through all the games that you already played, because obviously I don't want to do a repeat. And when you hadn't played Lighthearted, I was like, Jeff is gonna love this. I have to give Jeff Lighthearted.
You were right. I did. This was a beautiful, wonderful game. What was your favorite moment from play?
I think the whole bit around the Dungeons and Dragons tournament I think the 80s-ness of it was perfect, but then also I always love the back and forth of building up this villain and creating this thing. And it happened through the entire scenario. I don't want to shortchange any moment, but the ability for me to take something totally wild, like all of a sudden we have Korean pork, and then create a sensory moment out of it. And then to have that mix up with like this huge 80s villain, it was just like we'd taken all of the great things about the game and the decade and distilled them into a single drop that we could just drip right there on the table.
Really, really beautiful moment. I really loved the scene in the parking lot. Like, that was something that I had written down. I wrote down doing donuts in the parking lot, and I wasn't 100% sure where that was gonna go, but like the reveal that the factory had shut down, and that experience of like the structure of this is so heavy and like is so specific of like there are specific things that are blocking you from getting to do the things that make this the perfect day, that having this moment of like there's nothing we can do to make this moment perfect, so it truly is just that we are here together, was really, really wonderful and like hit a specific vibe that felt perfect.
Yeah. I liked that through line through the whole thing, that as we were solving problems, it was always a callback to something that made the friendship special. Do you remember that time we had to like sneaky cook? Do you remember the dungeons that we used to play and that's how we're going to cheat? And I loved pulling all of that out along the way.
That was really beautiful. It was really, really joyful. This was a great game experience. Thank you so much for playing this with me.
Oh, no, by all means. And likewise, 1,000-fold, this was great.
I'm so happy. This was amazing. So real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Oh, so on Twitter and Blue Sky, I am at Aaron in Words, but that is mostly just me sharing memes about actual play and kind of like riffing on a high theory level. If you want to see me GMing or doing production work, all of that happens at Queen's Court RPG on Twitter, or you can go to queenscourt.games on the internet. If you're a podcast person, you should check out our award-winning, currently the award-winningest actual play podcast as of time of recording in the Audio Fiction World Cup, the All Night Society. But then you're listening to just podcasts, so you are probably way more into indie stuff happening, kind of short series that you're going to find on the podcast, one-shots and other mischief. Also, everything's on our YouTube channel, Queen's Court Games. So, like, no matter how you like to consume TTRPG media, we have a venue for it. And, yeah, check it out.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you again for playing this with me. This was such a wonderful experience. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap things up. Take a future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Aaron for coming onto the show. God, what a beautiful game. Like, really just a truly beautiful and special experience that, like, I am truly just so grateful that we got to play through this story together and share in this story that was like joyful and cathartic and emotional and bittersweet, but in like a really beautiful way. Just, this was such a perfect gameplay experience. I could not be happier, and I'm so grateful that we got to do it together. Anyway, like I said, be sure to head to lighthearted.games to pick up your own copy of Lighthearted, and be sure to head to queenscourt.games to check out all of Aaron's work, including the incredible All Night Society. And be sure to follow Queen's Court Games on Twitter at Queen's Court RPG and Aaron on Twitter at Aaron in Words. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/Party of One Podcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/Party of One Discord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/Party of One merch. Or if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.